Hello, my name is Carmen, and I'm pleased to present you the project I've done. What is my project about? Well, my work consists of a metallic stick in which flows a certain intensity that will be introduced in a magnetic field. This magnetic field will go in an upright way, vertical, as it is shown in this picture, and will be increasing in a linear way with the time, starting in 0 and increasing until it covers the distance already defined. For example, 1.5 meters. This magnetic field will create a magnetic force perpendicular to the stick, which will make it move. So the aim of this project is to analyze the final speed of the switch and see how the change of the values of the different variables affect on this result. Which are these variables? Well, here we have some of the variables that will affect in the final result: the mass of the stick, the length of it, the intensity that goes through it, the initial magnetic field, and the proportion in which it increases, as well as the space we want the sticks to cover. In addition to this, in order to find out how the different values of the variables affect on this final result, although we have analyzed it in this Excel, we will use the geogebra simulator, so it can be seen more accurately. Let's see the geogebra. This simulator represents the race between two sticks. Each of them will have different values in the different variables, so we can see what happens and which are the differences. Here there are the different sliders of the different variables that will be changing. First, we have to settle the distance we want the sticks to cover, so we can do the comparison correctly. For example, 3 meters. The table gets bigger or smaller depending on the size. Well, the first variable is the length of the stick. As you can see, the stick gets bigger, smaller. The second variable is the mass of the stick. As you can see, it makes the radio bigger or smaller, depending if the mass is bigger or not. The third variable is the intensity that flows through the stick. Although it has no physical representation in this simulator, it affects in our result enormously. The next variable is the value of the magnetic field when the stick begins to slide. And finally, the proportion in which the magnetic field changes. Well, let's start analyzing the different variables. Once we know the different variables, we will analyze each of them. The first one, the length, in order to find the differences in a more accurate way. If we settle the same values in the other variables and we only change the one referred to the length, being the length of the stick 1, 0.2 meters, while the length of the B will be 2 meters. We will see what happens. Let's put the same. Well. As you have already watched, it takes less time to the stick B to cover the distance, and it gets also a bigger speed than the A, because as you know, the length is directly proportional to the force, so is the acceleration. You can see in this formula force equal length by intensity by magnetic field, which means the bigger the stick is, the faster it will go. You can see here. So, the second variable, the mass of the stick, we will follow the same mechanism as the one before. One stick will have a mass of 0.5 kilograms, while the other one will have a weight of 0.005 kilograms. Let's see what happens now. As you can see, it takes much more time to the second stick to cover the distance than the first one, because as you know, the mass is conversely proportional to the acceleration. So, the heavier the stick is, the slower that it will go. As you can see, the velocity is much higher in the second case. Remember the formula F mass by equal mass by A. What will happen with the intensity? Let's see. Well, it is similar to the variable of the length. The higher value it gets, the quicker it will go. Let's see. So, similar to the variable of the length. Well, then when studying magnetic field, it's worth mentioning that the simulator begins in the same instance that the stick starts moving. I mean, I didn't take into account the time that the stick has needed to reach that initial value when it starts to slide. Well, you can observe that as long as the magnetic field increases, the velocity will be higher. So the higher it gets, the faster it will go. Finally, when analyzing the proportion in which the magnetic field increases, it's worth mentioning the meaning of this value. Well, when it is said here that the proportion has a value of 2, the value of 2 in the value of the magnetic field at the beginning the magnetic field at the end is double of the one at the beginning when it commences to slide. When the value is 3, instead the value of the magnetic field will be 3 times higher. Let's see. So this has been all. Thank you. See you soon. Enjoy. Bien, ¿no?